Now, let's say we have this set of inputs for the Black-Scholes option pricing model, where the underlying price is 50, the strike price is 52, the volatility is 20%, the time to maturity is 6 months or half a year, and the risk-free rate is 3% per year. So let's say if you want to calculate the call option price using the Black-Scholes option pricing model, I will first calculate D1 and D2 based on the formulas here. Okay, so there's the formula for D1 and D2. And then I'll compute the cumulative probability based on the normal distribution for the values D1 and D2. Okay, so here I have ND1 and ND2. Lastly, we calculate the call option price, okay, based on the formula. Then we have 228. Now, let's say if, based on these inputs, we get an output of 2.28. But what if the call option price is $5.20? Then what would the volatility be? Okay, in order to get an option price of 520. So in order to calculate or get the input based on a target output, we can use GoalSeek. So let's say we click on the data tab, and then I'll click on what if analysis, and then look for GoalSeek. And then we will set the cell for the output, which is in cell C14, and we will set this to 520. And the cell that we're going to change here is the volatility, which is in C5, and then we'll click OK. And GoalSeek will then calculate, okay, the volatility value in order to get a call option price of 520. So we click OK to save the result. So I'll just extend this to 2 decimal places. So that's implied volatility of 40.71% for the underlying in order to get a call option price of 520. Now, let's say if you want to frequently calculate the implied volatility when you have different call option prices, you can actually use macro to make this easier to compute. So what I'll do is we'll click on the developer tab, okay, and then we'll click record macro. And then you have to give the macro a name. Let's say if I call it implied vol, then I'll click OK and we start recording. So we'll click on the data tab, and then under what if analysis, we'll click on GoalSeek. So here we have to select the cell that you want to, the cell for the output, which is C14. And then we'll set the target values and we'll enter a random number first. So let's say if I enter 8, and then the cell that we're going to change is C5, which is the volatility. And then we'll click OK. So once we're done, okay, we'll just click on OK. Then we will stop the macro from recording. Next, we'll click on macros. Okay, and then we'll see the macro that we have created, and then you can click edit to go into the VBA window. So you'll see that a set of codes have been created here based on the steps that we have taken. So I'll remove these first 3 lines. Okay, so we have this line for code that does the GoalSeek. So what I'm going to do now is here in, let's say, row B16, I'm going to create a label for target call price. So in case you want to change the values of cell C14, we don't change it directly. So I'm just going to create this label, and then I'm going to put a target price that I want or I may see in the market. So maybe let's enter a value of 10 here. So what I want to do is I want to use the VBA to actually pick up the values from cell C16, okay, and then use this as the target value to then compute the implied volatility. So in this code here, we'll see that the cell that we're going to change is cell C14. Okay, this is the output. And then here currently is set to 8 based on what we have done. But the values that we have as a target is in cell C16. So I'm going to replace this with range C16, close the bracket, and then dot value. So every time we run the macro, it will pick up the values from cell C16. And then we will then change the cell C5 in order to get the output value. Okay, so we are done with this. So let's close the window. And then I'm going to attach this to a button. So again, in the developer tab, you can click on insert. And then under form controls, look for this button icon. Then I'll just create the icon here. And then we'll tag it to the macro that we have created. Okay, and then just click OK. And we're done. So let's just label this button. So this is calculate implied vol. And we're done. So every time you want to execute the macro, you can just click on this button, okay, and then it will set the call option price to this target call price by recomputing the volatility. So in this case, the implied vol for this call option will be 75.13%. And if you are using macro, you will have to save the Excel worksheet as a macro enabled worksheet. So when you click on File, and save as. Select the type, then you will have to select a .xlsm file type. This will then allow the file to run the macro every time you open it.